world during COVID said that tourism would bounce back in about 3 years' time. Why have we missed the mark? Why, why do we have such a penchant for failure when the St. Lucia Labour Party is in? Several projects have been frustrated in this country. I look at in my own constituency, Ancillary, and we had set about to organize a village tourism project where the people of Ancillary would benefit significantly. A, by allowing them to get into their own businesses, and B, by creating long-term employment in the West Coast town of Ancillary. Look at what we did in Soufriere, for example. Look at what we did in Grosley. But in Ancillary specifically, we completely built a 10-room bed and breakfast hotel. There are a few refinements here and there for the government to go in and to open up this facility and to lease this to a aspiring hotelier so that they can own their own business within the tourism industry. We did the same by building a beachfront restaurant so that we can leverage the mystique and the charm of the Ancillary Bay and to leverage the warmth of its people and to launch Ancillary within its own right as a bona fide tourism destination. Instead, the Labour Party is very happy to allow Ancillarians to see dozens of coasters passing with thousands of guests on a daily basis heading to Soufriere and other more organized tourism villages. And so what has been done to Ancillary in the last 3 to 4 years is a complete travesty. You would have noted that the current MP in Ancillary, Girard, would have attempted to blame me for not putting a septic tank, rather than taking 3 months out of the last 3.5 years and complete what I have done so that the facility can be opened so that there could be economic advancement to the economy of the West Coast Village. He sought to play politics. He sought to cover up his laziness. He sought to cover up doing nothing. He sought to cover up trying to erase the legacy of Dominic Fede, Alan Chastney, and the United Workers' Party in Ancillary Canaries. We left a market facility in the village of Canaries. Same fate. Up to today, it is not open. It is not completed. The Labour Party, they are just concerned with protecting the victory. Look at what has happened in Grosley. The Honourable Spider Montoute, while he was MP of that constituency, left a project on the beachfront at Pigeon Island. And what have they done? They have kept it closed. They have sought to complete it by fencing it. They built a wall. The wall fell down. They've given the contract to people who are not skilled to do the work and wasting you, the taxpayers' money, time, and momentum and possibility. That's what they have done. And now we see elections are coming now. Everybody is rushing to try to finish up projects so that they can go to the people to tell them that they have accomplished something. They have frustrated the Soufriere shopping complex to help to even refine the great tourist destination that Soufriere is and the true potential of the Soufriere people. Look at the amazing work done by Herod Stanislas. They have also frustrated the Rodney Bay Road. That road would have made it easier for guests going to and fro attractions from the north rather than having to go through and endure the traffic situation in Grosley, that they could have gotten to attractions easier. And the Labour Party doesn't understand the economic importance of a road. They don't understand how traffic, a simple thing like traffic, can affect the mood and the feel and business of people going to and from various tourism sites in the north, in the south, and various locations in the country. And so they have selfishly protected the victory. They don't care about you. They don't care about your prosperity. All they care about is to stay in government. Now, I watched in amazement this week you would have seen that the airport would have closed, where at least several carriers were affected by what I call a lack of management again. People complain that at the airport, the toilet facility doesn't work often. I mean, how could you be a tourism destination and to fix a simple thing like a toilet, that you allow that to become a big problem where people complain about toilet facilities? How could you not know, as Minister for Tourism, as Minister for the Port, that's Hilaire and Stevenson King. King has always been a lazy guy anyway. But how could you not know that there is a problem with a facility that is under your control, so crucial towards the economic fabric of tourism? How could you allow this to burn in the manner that you have? How could you allow Urinora International Airport to fall down to a state where the equipment for the ground handling, where the staff had to say, look, we're done with this, we're not coming to work because of concerns that we have with the working conditions within the airport and as well as the equipment? I saw the Prime Minister very disappointedly at the press briefing last night, suggesting that we need to be cautious with AI because this statement put out by the International Aviation Association, IATA, where they have said that what has happened at the airport, where over 400 tourists had to be turned back from landing in St. Lucia, and their vacations were affected, and airline schedules were affected, and how that would have shattered the confidence of the travel industry in how we are running the affairs of the country in St. Lucia. The Prime Minister said that this might be from AI because he has not received it. How could you be laughing and giggling over a serious matter like this? And they have laughed about everything. They've laughed about everything. They've laughed about crime. They've laughed about cost of living. They've laughed about the healthcare crisis. Everything is made up by the UWP. But look at simple. He said this may have been AI generated. And so it's very disappointing to see how the Prime Minister has handled this matter. There's no sense of urgency. But the IATA people, the Aviation Association globally, are taking this very seriously. They have been complaining to the authorities, it appears from the statement they have made here, that they need to have an urgent meeting with Stevenson King and Hilaire, the ministers responsible for the ports and also the minister responsible for tourism, so that they can bring about a resolution to this situation and to reduce the possibility of this happening again. This is very, very unfortunate how the government continues to manage our industry, how they continue to fail us. If Grenada and Dominica and St. Vincent all can grow double digits over 2019, why should we accept 3%? Why should we be celebrating record-breaking 3%? So this illusion that the minister is trying to create, that everything is hunky-dory, while Rome is burning, trying to cover up with the makeup of jazz festivals and carnival, showing people that he is doing extremely well. All is not well within the tourism industry. The minister has failed at his duties, and there's a big dereliction in his duties and responsibilities. I thank you.
First of all, let me say good morning to the members of the media and a special good morning to those who are listening and viewing on live stream in the diaspora and indeed here in St. Lucia. This morning, I'm here to read to you a statement from the United Workers' Party on its commitment to reinstating the National Health Insurance, NHI, for all St. Lucians. The United Workers' Party reaffirms its unwavering commitment to the health and well-being of every St. Lucian. When re-elected, we will reinstate the National Health Insurance NHI program, a vital initiative that was regrettably abandoned by the St. Lucia Labour Party, the SLP. This decision by the SLP has left thousands of St. Lucians vulnerable with limited access to affordable, quality health care. The United Workers' Party will correct this injustice because we believe that health care is not a privilege, it is a fundamental human right that every citizen is entitled to. The National Health Insurance Program was designed to create a comprehensive, inclusive, and sustainable healthcare system that ensures no one is left behind or left out. And that is regardless of economic status. Under the leadership of the United Workers' Party, the NHI will be reinstated to provide the following benefits to St. Lucians. 1. Comprehensive health coverage. Every St. Lucian will have access to essential healthcare services, which includes doctor consultations, hospitalization, specialist care, diagnostic tests, maternity services, prescription medication, and emergency medical attention. No one will be denied care because of their inability to pay. Secondly, we'll reduce the financial burden. Too many families and individuals face the impossible choice between seeking medical care and meeting basic living expenses. The NHI will significantly reduce out-of-pocket expenses, making healthcare more affordable for all, especially for vulnerable groups like the elderly, children, low-income families, and single parents. 3. Timely and efficient medical attention. Long wait times and delayed treatments often result in worsened health outcomes. With the NHI, patients will receive timely care, preventing complications and reducing the strain on our already burdened healthcare system. Number 4, it will focus on preventative care. Preventative health care reduces long-term costs and improves quality of life. The NHI will cover preventative services such as routine checkups, screenings, immunizations, and health education programs to promote healthier lifestyles and reduce the prevalence of chronic lifestyle diseases. Number 5, strengthening the healthcare system. The NHI will provide the financial stability needed to upgrade medical facilities, invest in modern equipment, and improve the working conditions of healthcare professionals. This will enhance the overall quality of healthcare services across the island. And 6, peace of mind for all St. Lucians. Knowing that quality healthcare is always within reach and accessible provides a sense of security. Families will no longer live in fear of medical emergencies they cannot afford, and every child will have the opportunity to grow up healthy and strong. With the United Workers' Party, St. Lucians will certainly have a healthier future. The United Workers' Party has a proven track record of investing in St. Lucia's health sector, from improving hospital infrastructure to increasing the availability of medical resources. Our vision for St. Lucia includes a robust healthcare system where no citizen is left to suffer due to lack of accessibility or affordability. The abandonment of the NHI by the SLP was a betrayal of the people's trust, but under the United Workers' Party, we will restore this critical program because we believe in a St. Lucia where healthcare is accessible, affordable, and reliable for every citizen. When you vote for the United Workers' Party, you are voting for a healthier, stronger, and more secure St. Lucia. Your health is our priority, and we will deliver. Thank you. I will now invite the media. Should you have any questions for my colleague, Senator Fede?
Benjamin Emmanuel was appointed as the lead chair of
Okay, for those of you who cannot pick up the question was presented by Amelia Oka from Hot 7 TV, and the question is, Mr. Ben Emmanuel was recently appointed as the chairman of the Millennium Heights Medical Center Board, and the question was, what are our feelings towards this? Well, first and foremost, I do not want to preempt his tenure by making any predictions of any kind. Let me just say that I wish him success in his tenure, and I sincerely hope, for the benefit of us all in St. Lucia, that he will and his board will do a much better job than the board that previously obtained. However, what I am curious about, because I watched the release in the media when Mr. Emmanuel was presented and he was asked to receive a check that was a donation from Galaxy, that is that company to whom we have given 11,000 files for the sale of our passports in the CIP program. We were told that Galaxy has made a donation of $400,000 toward the construction of what they referred to as the fifth finger, which is one of the wings that was not constructed because of lack of funds, and they intend to do so now. Now, the fifth finger would be a welcome addition, because hopefully it will improve the conditions and the medical services that are available at OKEU. But let me just say this. First and foremost, I think we have to get it right with what already obtains. And secondly, as a St. Lucian, I feel insulted that my passport was given to a company to the tune of over $1 billion US, and today I have to seek charity from that same company for $400,000 as we beg for donations towards the construction of the fifth finger. Let me say this. Galaxy, under the real estate program, is supposed to build an hotel here in St. Lucia. That hotel, from my understanding, could have been constructed with the provision of about 1,500 files or less. That means we would have provided the number of passports so that Galaxy can sell, and with the revenue generated, they would build an hotel that would belong to them. Of course, what is in it for us is that an hotel would exist where jobs would be made available. I find that extremely generous to secure investment in this country. However, the government in its wisdom went beyond 1,500 files and gave them for that program, forget about the 6,000 that was given for the infrastructure program, which we know very little about. They were given 5,000 files. And I want to remind St. Lucians that when Galaxy first came to St. Lucia, during the tenure of the United Workers' Party, the United Workers' Party gave them 700 files, which would provide funding for about 60% of the hotel, of their hotel, because the hotel, when built, would be theirs. I thought at the time that was pretty generous. However, and in the wisdom of the Honorable Prime Minister, then the leader of the now leader of the opposition, Honorable Alan Shastney, who was Minister of Finance, apart from being Prime Minister, is also responsible for the CIP program. He decided that Galaxy should have some skin in the game, and that they should provide the additional 40% funding that was required for the hotel. The SLP came into government, renegotiated that contract, and not only did they give them 100% of the funding, they went beyond that to provide them with some additional 3,500 files, to which no explanation has been given as to what is going to be done with that money and how that money is going to be spent. That amounts to hundreds of millions of dollars that has just been given to Galaxy. And today, for us to turn around and seek charity from Galaxy, who will make a contribution to the construction of the fifth finger of a meager $400,000, I feel insulted as a St. Lucian. And I'm saying this, with that number of passports, we could have had more than enough money, not just to build a fifth finger. We could have had a hand with arm attachment and all fingers required from the money that has been just given away to a foreign company. And so I would like the Prime Minister, the Minister responsible for CIP, Dr. Ernest Hiller, to explain to St. Lucians how do they arrive at that kind of mathematics, how do they come about that kind of economics, and make us understand how it is that at every turn they are squandering our resources. Our passport is part of our resources, and so it belongs to us. That's our sovereignty. How they are squandering away all our resources to foreigners. Okay, and this is only one example. The GPH saga is another example, where our two ports, the two more prolific ports in terms of revenue generation, were given to a company called Global Port Holding for possibly 40 years at a cost of 40 million US dollars, whereas GPH is already, without having invested 1 cent, generating millions of dollars from the use of our port, which SLASPA could have done, which SLASPA had been doing, and there is no explanation as to the logic, the rationale, the common sense behind such an arrangement. I have to ask whether our government has gone insane, whether we have people who are brainless and clueless running this country, or whether it is a simple case of squandering our resources for the benefit of the foreigners and God knows who else. So, we need an explanation, and I want to call on St. Lucians to recognize what is taking place, recognize what is happening. Our resources in terms of our national assets, our passport, our ports, are being squandered, are being given away. And we are getting little to nothing. And when I talk about getting little to nothing, in the case of GPH, January 2025 marked the commencement of a new regime in terms of the fees that are charged to the cruise ships coming in, where the charges have moved from $6.50 to $12.50 per head. Out of the $12.50, the solid waste receives $1.50. The government of St. Lucia receives $1. I said the government of St. Lucia receives $1. And guess what? GPH, the foreign company, who now owns our port, receives $10 on every passenger that visits St. Lucia. So it means that they have easily clocked over $1 million in the month of January alone. That money could have been that of ours through SLASPA continuing to manage and operate our ports. And mind you, with that $1, it is government's responsibility to continue to maintain the ports at Soufrière and Castries when it comes to dredging and all of that, with that $1. So I'm asking the question, what is in it for St. Lucia? What is in it for St. Lucians? Why is our government bent on selling out our sovereignty, giving away our patrimony, and leaving St. Lucians with next to nothing as we struggle with healthcare, we struggle with our national security, we struggle with our infrastructure, we struggle with education, and whereas the resources that could have been directed to those sources are now being dished out to foreigners. And God knows if there are any St. Lucians who receive any form of compensation as a result, that we need to know, that we need to find out. Because there cannot be any justification for that kind of outlandish squandering of our national resources. I thank you.
Okay, so St. Jude's is they said it's nearing completion and they plan to open, right? Let's say it opens and it operates. If you guys do assume office come 2026, what is your vision? Do you think you guys will go ahead and use what is already open, or is there a plan to revert and go back to the construction of the original building you guys had in mind?
Okay, the question is St. Jude's. The government is promising that they are going to open St. Jude's, but as you know, St. Jude's the old building is being refurbished to serve as the St. Jude's Hospital. Should the UWP, or rather when the UWP returns to office, what will be our plan, whether we will continue to utilize the old, over 80-year-old building that was not designed and built for a hospital, or whether we will have any alternative. Well, we will have no choice but initially to continue with what obtains. However, we are committed to providing St. Lucians with the best healthcare facilities that they deserve. And of course, as you would be aware, we had commenced construction of what the now government refer to as the box, which they have abandoned. It is not that far from completion. It does not require too much injection of resources to complete. We will complete that building that was designed for purpose, which is a state-of-the-art, specially designed hospital with helipad and all the works, where St. Lucians will get a higher standard, higher level facility that they deserve. Of course, we will not just let the old building go to waste, but we will find suitable use for it, whether in the form of a medical school or what have you on the compound. But we will certainly complete what we have started, because that is what St. Lucians deserve, and that is what makes more sense. And of course, we are hoping that St. Lucians will ensure that before the St. Lucia Labour Party under Philip J. Pierre finishes the squandering of the 200 million that has been borrowed that we have to pay back, that we can get into office to make better use of those resources.
The Royal St. Lucia Police Force indicated that there seems to be a decline in the homicide rates, and we've seen an increase in police presence, especially in the city. What are your thoughts now on the handling of the crime situation?
Well, I pity the St. Lucia Police Force, conditions under which they have to work, and even now that they are negotiating for better wages and compensation, we see and hear what is happening. The government is just shoving down their throat what they think they deserve, quite contrary to the spirit of industrial bargaining. I don't think that will do well for the morale of the police, but I think it's a little early to talk about a decline in the rate of homicides. I mean, we have become so used to having how many? On average of so many per month, that we are now in the first month of the year talking about a decrease. Let's not forget we just came off a record-breaking year of 77, and I keep reminding St. Lucians that those 77 officially recorded homicides are not a true reflection of what the actual figure, because I know of individuals who died not immediately, but subsequent to violent attacks, who died later and were not included on that list. So, but let us go by what the official list says. 77 St. Lucians lost their lives. Have we heard any form of concern? Has the government shown any desire to commensurate with the families who lost their loved ones? Have they shown any care for the loss of life of St. Lucians? I mean, we see that we lose our lives through poor health facilities and health care. We lose our lives through poor road conditions. We lose our lives through violent crime. The government simply does not care about St. Lucians or the lives of St. Lucians. And so what we would like to see is more support, better morale for the police, and more support on the part of the police. I have given up on the St. Lucia Labour Party government. I'm calling on us, the citizens of St. Lucia, to cooperate in whatever way we can in assisting the police in their fight against crime, especially violent crime. But with a United Workers' Party government, who actually has a plan for crime fighting, St. Lucians should see a significant, a drastic change and improvement as far as criminal activity is concerned.
Someone asked via WhatsApp whether you're surprised or disappointed that the government is focusing on a fifth finger while there's no Panadol and gauze and other basics.
The question is, am I surprised that the government is focusing on a fifth finger at OKEU while there is no Panadol, no medicine available, shortage of staff and all of that? Am I surprised that the government is focusing on a fifth finger? Not at all. If you have been in St. Lucia, if you have been around, if you have been observing what passes for government, you will know that we have a government with no plan. We have a government that is clueless. We have a hapless government that does not know how to govern, does not know how to manage. Forget healthcare, which I must confess is a bit of a challenge. This government cannot even procure a basic commodity like sugar, which every shopkeeper is able to do. We have a situation where there's no shortage of sugar in the world, and from time to time we have shortages for sugar in St. Lucia. That, in a nutshell, encapsulates how our government functions and the capacity of the present government that is running St. Lucia today. So, surprise? Absolutely not. I am not surprised. Their priorities are misplaced, and their plans are absent. Yes.
I was already late. I didn't really get the gist of what you said. Question. Sorry for my lateness or traffic.
But somebody was asking while you warm up and you set up. Somebody was asking about the Minister of Youth and Sports and whether it was just land or did he also develop property as well.
Okay. Questions are being asked, and it is for the Minister of Youth and Sports, the Honorable Kenson Kasemi, to come out and to divulge to the general public, to answer the questions or the questions that they're asking. As a public figure, it is the people's business to ask such questions of you, and if there are suspicions, it is for you as a public official to come out, clarify, and explain. And as a public figure, you must remember that you are subject to scrutiny by the public and, of course, the various institutions that are put in place for monitoring. Let me remind St. Lucians that one of the key institutions that is supposed to be in place for monitoring is the Integrity Commission. That is a constitutional requirement. Today, as we speak, there is no Integrity Commission. The life of the commission expired on the 29th of March 2024, and it is almost 1 year now that the commission has not been reconstituted. Ask yourself, how could that be? What kind of government would operate in that manner, in total, blatant, outright breach of our Constitution? Are they afraid of the scrutiny of the Integrity Commission? Do they have something to hide that they do not want a monitoring agency to be in place to answer, or rather to take care of the concerns of the citizens, given the kind of questions that we are hearing now? And to answer the question more directly, Honorable Kenson Kasemi has come under scrutiny, and some of the questions being asked pertain to some of the assets that he has amassed in recent years, and his meteoric accumulation of wealth and assets, including his home that has been expanded to include 3 additional villas, a property near Cap Estate that was bought for $270-something thousand, upon which he is constructing 5 condos. He, of course, as a minister of government, is entitled to duty-free concessions on vehicles. He has purchased a brand new four-door pickup. These are the things people are asking questions about. And let me just inform you that despite the duty-free concession, a pickup like his would still cost in the vicinity of over $200,000. And we are hearing talk, and I'm not making any definitive statement now, I'm not casting any aspersions, I'm just mentioning to you the questions that are being asked by the general public, which I'm inviting the Honorable Minister to shed light on and to explain. It is also being said that he made a deposit on a lot in Beauséjour, and apparently the lot was sold to someone else, and in the process he lost some $27,000 which he deposited. There is talk that he's in the process of purchasing property in Guyana. I think that's a smart move in terms of investment. Guyana is where it's at these days with the oil-rich newfound wealth. I am not suggesting for a moment that there's any veracity to this. I do not know. These are the questions being asked, and it is not for me to answer those questions. It is for the Honorable Minister, the Parliamentary Representative for Grosley, Kenson Kazimi, to come out and answer those questions. And it is very important in the year of accountability for him to answer those questions, especially given the fact that we know that there's no integrity commission in operation. So, sir, the body that is supposed to verify your wealth and your sources of wealth is not in place because your government has chosen to flout the Constitution. So you, to preserve, well, I can't say preserve the good image of politicians, because politicians do not have a good image in St. Lucia. We must accept that. And I have also continued to insist that politicians themselves have been their own worst enemies, because politicians like Kenson Kazimi have made statements and cast aspersions to create that negative image of politicians.
He's claiming that this attack from the opposition is on his personal life, and that you guys should refrain from doing that and digging into his personal life.
Okay, let me just say that it may have come from supporters of the United Workers' Party. There are also other St. Lucians who are making it. It didn't come from us, and by the way, it is not an attack, it is an inquiry. And it is not his personal life. If I ask you, ma'am, where did you get your fine jewelry from? I may be accused of being intrusive. I am delving into your personal life as a private citizen. Once you become a public officer, it is the right of the citizens to know where you stand as far as your assets and liabilities are concerned. Because let's not forget, in our laws, it is stated that a bankrupt is not supposed to be an elected official. We need to know whether or not you are. And given the fact that you have access to state resources, we want to be sure that our state resources are not misappropriated and that they are spent for the benefit and interest of the people of St. Lucia. So let's cast all doubt, let's throw all questions out of the window. Simply come out and clarify. There's nothing personal, and even you, madam, there's nothing personal if I want to find out who the lot that you own belongs to. I can simply go to the land registry, and that information is accessible to the general public. So there has not been, as far as I know, any intrusion into the minister's personal affairs. I see he's eager to talk about his GoPuel and all of that. I am not interested in that, but I will say to you that while I'm not the one who asked the questions, I am interested in the answers to the questions that were asked.
He's claiming that he works and that it is within his right to get a loan at a financial institution, and that's how he has acquired.
Well, I fully agree that it is his and everyone else's right, if they qualify, to get a loan from a financial institution. But let's not mix the issues. That is not the question. If it is a loan that he received, it's not about his right to get a loan, but we want to know, did you get a loan? Did you use your saving? Did you inherit? How did you come by the wealth, the assets that you now own? Okay? I am not going to suggest what else people want to know in terms of how it came by. Now, instead of answering the questions, we are getting threats from the Prime Minister, from the member. Now, that is a typical modus operandi of the St. Lucia Labour Party, to threaten people when they ask questions, to intimidate people. And of course, no other is better at that than the minister's mentor. Kenson Kazimi's mentor, Richard Frederick. Okay, he has stated that Richard Frederick is his mentor. And that too, I suspect, has raised suspicions in the minds of the general public. Because what Richard Frederick is known for in St. Lucia is not altogether savory. He is notorious rather than famous. And so the minister will do well, perhaps, not to emulate his mentor, and instead of intimidating St. Lucians by saying that he is considering his options, which is a veiled threat, come out. And among the considerations of your option, the best option is to answer the question.
I have a question when it comes to the Integrity Committee. We see both governments playing with the Integrity Committee. There are no qualms about that. We see both UWP, we see SLP playing with it. Okay, when one in is one question. When one out is the next question. You see that Integrity Committee, nobody not declaring the assets, and it have happened over administration after administration.
I'd like to stop you for a moment to clarify something for me. When you say they're playing with both...
For me, the governments have been playing it because we see them not declaring the assets. Okay? So then when one in, when one out, we see both parties doing that. Election after election, we see that coming up. We see Labour accusing all of it. We see now you accusing them of it. What is happening to the Integrity Commission? Why do not politicians, I don't care from on what side, before you come in, declare your assets, let people know.
Let me answer your question.
So while you're asking that question, I want both the UWP and the SLP, before any politician comes in, my brother, and you said something about bankruptcy. I feel that is the next question we have to go. If you bankrupt, my brother, you can't run as a politician. That is a no-no.
Yeah, well, that's the law of St. Lucia.
Right, that's the law, but it has happened before.
Well,
right, it has happened before. So that my question: where does the Integrity Commission come in? Is it working or is it not working?
Okay, let me just answer your question. The question is a statement. You made a statement first of all that both parties play games with the Integrity Commission. As a member of the United Workers' Party and as a former public official, as a UWP member, I will say to you that that is a false statement. If you talk about people not declaring their assets, that is an individual thing, because let us remember that the Integrity Commission is not there solely for the politicians, but all public officials. And if there are public officials who choose not to declare their assets, it is the responsibility of the Integrity Commission to pursue them and to take the requisite actions against them. What we are talking about now, and you see, whenever we highlight the shortcomings, the failures, and the outright dereliction of duty of the St. Lucia Labour Party, we get that comment about all parties being the same. I will say to you, I reject that statement, that assertion that the UWP is similar to SLP, because the United Workers' Party will not, and I say so confidently, the United Workers' Party will not flout St. Lucia's constitution to that extent. The St. Lucia Constitution under section 118.1 states that the Prime Minister should advise the Governor General to appoint an Integrity Commission that will comprise of a chairman and at least 2 members, but not more than 4 additional members. Today, that is the issue, and let's not lose sight of the issue. Today, the government, and if there are members, individuals, whether UWP, SLP, or public servants who have not declared their assets, it is the responsibility of the Public Service Commission to go after them. They cannot do it because they do not exist. That is what is important. The fact that there is no Integrity Commission at the behest of the government of St. Lucia, Philip J. and the St. Lucia Labour Party have flouted the Constitution of St. Lucia. So as I speak to you now, there is no Integrity Commission, a requirement, a constitutional requirement that almost 1 year now has not been put in place. Can we get an explanation for that? We have to hold our government, take them to task for their misdeeds. Let us not try to throw a blanket over everyone and dilute the issue by saying everyone is the same. We are not the same. I do not know that the United Workers' Party has ever flouted the Constitution in that manner.
Let's talk about code of ethics from both parties. We have an election coming up maybe in the next year. We do not know. Do you feel it's time that between the two of you, that a code of ethics when it comes to the integrity, that you all sit down between the two parties and get a proper, because don't forget, you're speaking to electorate there, and we ain't have a stupid electorate anymore. We have smarter people now who ask the questions. So do you feel the time is right now, before you go into election, that you sit down with the opposite party, get your code of ethics, which both of you all could respect? Okay. Instead of we having to go through all blaming each other, we come with our code of ethics and then let the public now judge you on
first of all, let me say we are not here blaming anyone. We are highlighting
we are blaming, but I'm asking.
The shortcomings. But let me just say, the United Workers' Party will welcome with open arms a code of ethics. But to suggest that it should be between the United Workers' Party and the SLP to come together to put a code of ethics in place, I am telling you, I am not very confident about that, because when I look at the level and standard of the St. Lucia Labour Party and how they behave, if we have to start from that level, I'm not sure we will get to the requisite level and standard of morals and ethics that is required at a national level to govern the conduct of politicians. I think we should look at the Council of Churches, the Chamber of Commerce, the Bar Association, those national bodies, the trade unions, those national bodies should come together, NYC, come together and determine what the standard should be. I am telling you, I expect if that is done, it will be more independent, and the St. Lucia Labour Party, I'm sure, will have a long way to go to meet that standard, while we may not have much adjustment to make. I can assure you of that.
And you'll be the party to basically push that for the next general election coming up, to push it, because what you're saying, it sounds great. And our next question I have for you, we have noticed that for the past years, that if you notice in the states that we have those town hall meetings between the different parties for different constituencies, I'm asking you all this year, can the UWP, because from all what you're saying there, challenge the SLP to more town hall meetings where both of the candidates will be meeting each other?
Okay. Well, I think you're referring to debates among the candidates.
Right.
That is
something
something.
The constituencies.
That is something that we have actually called for. That is something we are quite prepared to do. And if I speak personally, I have made it absolutely abundantly clear when I was in elective politics that I think it should be done. I called for it. I agreed to it one time when the National Youth Council suggested a debate between myself and then parliamentary representative Emma Hippolyte was in Grosile. I agreed to it, and when it came to Ms. Hippolyte, it was a different story. So I am saying to you, I agree, because I've always said, and I said it on platform, that a politician will come on a platform and choose to speak about what he wants to speak about or what he's comfortable with, and not necessarily what the people want to hear. The people should have an opportunity to question both individuals. And there, I think it will be an asset for us, the UWP, given the fact that we have a plan, and that will expose the fact that the St. Lucia Labour Party does not have a plan, because we ended up electing a government, the St. Lucia Labour Party under Philip Pierre, only to discover now, some 3.5 years later, that they have no plan for national security, and the Prime Minister, who's Minister of National Security, admitted that they have no plan for our healthcare, that they have no plan for running the economy of this country.
I have a question for Mr.
Okay, a question for
Mr.
Fede?
Yes.
Could you please come on?
So that would come most likely under tourism, so I guess it'd be the person. Presently, we are seeing mass deportations coming from the U.S. to the Caribbean countries, where St. Lucia has about, I believe St. Lucia is about 202 deportees coming from the United States. Now, most of those deportees are, from what they're saying, are criminals, those who are in the jails, etc. The whole Caribbean now, I believe Haiti has about 12,000 or whatever, between the other 100, 200 and something from each of the other Caribbean countries. As the Minister of Tourism, if all those people coming back, especially criminals, what effect you feel that could have on tourism within the Caribbean? St. Lucia, when you have those seasoned criminals coming back to St. Lucia, where other countries are saying, hey, I don't want them. I believe Venezuela or I believe Colombia said straight, we do not want them, because they know it's going to bring up a problem into the country. What happens to us with all those criminals now coming back into the Caribbean, where we already have a big crime problem?
Before I answer your question, I want to piggyback on some of the discussions you were having with Spider. I need you to remember that it was the St. Lucia Labour Party, the Prime Minister, a sitting Prime Minister, and I want you to ask him this. Is it right for a sitting Prime Minister to, at a meeting, tell his supporters to go in the faces of UWPs and to say that you lose, that you should go in the face of UWPs and remind them that they have lost the election and you are in charge? Is it right for a Speaker of the House to say that he's not going to tolerate any more questions from the UWP, that whether you're short or you're a giant, he's going to use a bazooka to take you out? Is that right for you to say? So I want you to put this conversation we're having in proper context so that you could realize where the provocation is coming from. Now, the question you ask about the deportees that are coming from the various Caribbean countries is a very good question. For a long time, the Caribbean, we've been very concerned about deportees coming from the United States. And CARICOM has actually highlighted that as an existential threat to the survival and development of Caribbean countries, because when criminals come back, they come back with more sophisticated crime techniques. They are better skilled because they've been in advanced countries, they've been exposed to greater technology, they've been exposed to more sophisticated weaponry, and they've been exposed to overwhelming, more sophisticated police forces, whether it's London or Toronto or New York or where they're coming from. So that provides a challenge to the police forces of the various Caribbean countries. It will require the region working together to use best practices. We will need to work even closer with our allies internationally to ensure that we can bring our crime fighting efforts to a higher place so that we can employ better technologies that they are used to, so that our crime fighting efforts will be up to par with the skills and the capacity of the criminals that are coming from these advanced countries.
My final question to you is on, going to hit you a little on tourism and also economics on trade. We noticed there's a problem happening within the Panama Canal, right? Presently, the states also want to have that bridge. Up to last night, I was watching the news. We have something like almost 200 ships now cannot cross the Panama Canal because of, again, climate change, the water level going down, and because of that now, priority is given, and that means the Caribbean countries are suffering. I want to know how at the same time, we heard governments around the Caribbean saying about the freight. It's a cost, and because of the cost of the freight now, the price of goods will go up. That's simple common sense. I'd like to know your take on what's happening with that, UWP views on what's happening within the Panama Canal and how it affects basically our freight and the price of goods in St. Lucia.
Well,
Spider, you would also answer.
But I'll say to you that we've always said that a large part of the increased cost of living that we're facing in the country is largely due to what's happening internationally. But the government of St. Lucia has made this worse and have compounded the situation by some of the very flawed economic policies that they have employed. So if you look at the 2.5% levy, for example, and how many times that is charged on goods and services in this country, that will explain to you how the people of St. Lucia are facing increased costs, not just because of those issues internationally that you've just described, but also because of the stupidity of the Philip J. Pierre administration. Look at when he said that the 2.5% levy would not have an impact on food. What did KFC do? We see a notice coming out from KFC to say because of the 2.5%, levy that is not really a health and security levy. We found out later it was a policy-based loan to get a loan from the CDB. So what we continue to see are brainless, senseless policy positions by the government of St. Lucia in the middle of an inflation. I will challenge you to go and find 4 or 5 countries that have increased taxes on their people during an inflation crisis. Central banks around the world were doing their best to mitigate the price of goods. They raised interest rates on companies so that they could slow down the consumption, so that by reducing the demand, that will have a spillover effect on the price of consumer goods. And that's how the world was trying to deal with it. But no, not us. We were putting taxes on our people. In St. Kitts, they were giving people subsidies. They were allowing people to import food on their Christmas barrels. They were giving them duty-free and extending the Christmas barrel program that we do for a couple of months. They did that for at least 6, 7, 8 months at a time so that people can get some relief. In Grenada, they were capping the price of gas. We are allowing the price of gas, which is going to affect the manufacturing commodities, because the price of gas also affects the price of electricity. I hope you know that. So when you are going to allow energy costs to go out of control, you're actually going to allow pasta, which is manufactured locally, to go out of control as well. You're going to allow Barron Food, well, I don't want to call any company's name, but any local manufacturer of food, you're going to see a spike in their cost, and they're going to pass on those extra costs to the consumer. We've had this brainless economic planning by the government. Their policies are wrong for the people of St. Lucia. We've seen them picking up, doubling the amount of excise tax, and they are coming and giving us bogus figures about the level of subsidies that they are giving for the people of St. Lucia. Every single government, from John Compton all the way back to George Charles, they give people subsidies on cooking gas, on flour, on rice and sugar. That's nothing new. So when the Prime Minister comes and he throws you a flashing mirror, what he's really trying to do is to mislead the people of St. Lucia. If you check the amount of excise tax that he has raised on the backs of the people, you will see that that number has doubled in the last 2 years, and they have collected record-breaking revenues, while the people of St. Lucia continue to suffer at the pumps, at the gas station, at the supermarkets, and in other places of commerce.
Morning, Senator Fede.
Yeah.
This question comes from a journalist viewing online. Tourism Minister Ernest Ile has claimed that 2024 was the best year for tourism in St. Lucia's history. As a former Minister of Tourism, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm really sorry for Ernest. He's clutching at straws. Ernest says that 2019, which was the best COVID-19 year, St. Lucia has risen 3%. Now, every single year in St. Lucia should be a record-breaking year. When I was minister, I grew by 10% every time. And I didn't have any pent-up COVID demand. These were just normal times. But I did my job. I made sure that St. Lucia was very visible. I made sure that the airlines were giving the right price, that the load factors were high, that we had gateways open to all destinations. What he is actually doing is, after years, many years of failure, he's now gotten an opportunity where that has increased. But the entire Caribbean is growing. And I want to put it to Ernest that Grenada has grown by double digits. 15%, I think that figure is. Dominica has grown by 13%. Antigua has grown by 17%. We have seen in St. Vincent, just next door to us, you know what their growth is over 2019? 25%. So the whole Caribbean region has had a tremendous year. The CTO has actually reported up to November that out of 22 destinations reporting, there are 17 out of them that have reported very strong figures. So the Caribbean region is having a great year because it's a great year for travel, and it has nothing to do with the skills of Ernest. Ernest has had the best platform laid for him by the United Workers' Party, while we were opening the industry, St. Lucians will remember very well, Ernest was saying that we were bringing COVID to kill the people of St. Lucia. And we were far ahead of Barbados and anybody else in the recovery. In 2021, I want this journalist to remember this, that by then we had 75% of our US business back on the books, open 6 months and ready to go. We had airlift in Texas. We have never seen that before. We've had American flying from Newark, never ever seen that before. American flying from Chicago, never happened in the history before. So we have left him a great foundation. You're welcome, Ernest. Yeah, thank you.
There was the desire on the part of the United Workers' Party, and our leader, Honorable Alan Chasney, was prepared to debate the current Prime Minister, Philip J. Pierre. Despite the fact that he was in opposition then, he declined to engage in the debate. So this is not something to ask of us. We are ever willing and ready. We think in a democracy, these are the kinds of things that ought to take place, and we are willing. And we are more than ready and willing to raise the standards even more than we have already, and to get ourselves to come from the level, the rock bottom level that we see now as what passes as honorable people. We have a minister in the Prime Minister's office who is on television on a weekly basis, literally abusing, intimidating, casting aspersions, and exposing. Now, you see, the minister, the parliamentary representative for Gross Lake, Kenson Kazimi, talked about personal information. Exposing my land document is not so private. Okay, everyone, like I said, everyone has access to that. But we saw Richard Frederick on television exposing personal documents gotten from police officers or government ministries, exposing personal information on private citizens here in this country. I have not heard Kenson Kazimi condemn it. Okay, and you know, he said that exposing his personal records, meaning his land document, is nasty. Well, Kazimi, you know how nasty what your mentor is doing? Go and tell Richard to expose people's personal information that his privileged position provides him with is nasty. Kenson, that is what is nasty. And we are above that. You have never seen, you will never see a current United Workers' Party candidate, representative, or official engaging in that kind of behavior. And so, when we talk about nastiness, Kenson Kazimi has contributed to what obtains now in the political arena as nastiness. Because he, in opposition, well, didn't have a problem casting aspersions or endorsing statements made about other politicians by the people who spoke on his platform. And so, we have always stayed above the fray. We will continue to stay above the fray. And we are willing to lead the way in elevating the standards. The United Workers' Party has always provided the light. The United Workers' Party has always been the beacon for St. Lucia. And we ask St. Lucians to bring back the light and let the beacon shine. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank those of you from the media. I want to thank those of you who are watching on live stream, whether in the diaspora, in St. Lucia, or throughout the region. Thank you. You can join us on Thursday morning for Meet the Opposition, where we continue to bring the issues that are of interest and concern to you, and we shed light on the truth. Thank you very much. Have a good day.